You know, from the moment you hit 4 to 6 cases per month as a legal nurse consultant, everything changes. We were just talking about this today in our group mentorship session in Catalyst, and I want to show you how to scale from an overwhelmed solo practitioner as a legal nurse to a real business owner. I'm Randy Lovelace, and I've helped to scale multiple legal nurse consulting businesses from solo operations to six-figure enterprises. But here's what most legal nurse consultants don't realize. There's this critical transition point where you either learn to scale or you stay trapped, continuing to trade your time for money. Today, I'm going to show you the exact roadmap for scaling your legal nurse consulting business. That's going to include when to make a hire, how to build systems that ensure quality, how to transition from doing the work to leading the business. Let me start with a reality check. When you first start your legal nurse consulting business, you'll be doing everything yourself. You'll be marketing, doing the case analysis, communicating with clients, invoicing, quality control. That's normal and it's necessary. But here's the trap most legal nurse consultants are going to fall into. They get comfortable being the person who does all the work, instead of becoming the person who builds the business, the CEO, the entrepreneur. And there's a fundamental difference between having a job where you're self-employed and building a business that creates true wealth. In a job, your income stops when you stop working. In a business, your income grows because other people are creating value under your leadership. Rachel, she's one of our Catalyst clients, and she told me about how she went from bedside to managing 8 active subcontractors, and she did that in just under a year. She didn't just create a job for herself. She built a business that generated income even when she was taking her daughter to the zoo. Andrea, she went from being laid off of her job to becoming COO of my company, Chief Operating Officer. She's managing multiple $10,000+ cases simultaneously now. And that's not because she became a better individual contributor. It's because she learned to scale, learned to lead teams. It's something she was doing before legal nursing, and she's doing a fantastic job at it now. So the question isn't whether you should scale. The question is, do you want to build wealth or just create another job for yourself? And there's a specific point where scaling, it becomes not just an option, but a necessity. And I find that point to be somewhere around 4 to 6 cases a month. At 4 to 6 cases per month, depending on the size and complexity of the cases, you're probably working 50, 60 hours a week just on case analysis, not including marketing, client communication, business administration. And you're really approaching your maximum capacity as an individual contributor. And a lot of legal nurse consultants get here and they have to make one of two choices. Either limit their growth to stay within their personal capacity, or they learn to scale through people, through systems. And here's what happens if you don't scale. You start having to turn down cases. You can't handle the volume, or you work longer hours and you get burned out. Or the quality of your work suffers because you're rushed. Or sometimes I see legal nurses who are very successful doing all the work themselves, but they're so focused on doing the work, they're not marketing, they're not forming relationships, they're not doing the thing that's going to grow their business. So they lose the opportunity to build wealth because they're still trading time for money. But here's what happens when you scale properly. You can take on 15, 20, 50 cases, I don't care, per month. Your income grows exponentially instead of in a linear fashion. You're building business assets that hold real value beyond your personal efforts. And the biggest challenge at this transition, it's not operational, it's psychological. You've got to shift from being the person who does the best work to being the person who ensures the best work gets done. Alex, she's another one of our Catalyst clients. You may have seen this in her testimonial video, but she increased her revenue almost 14 times in 1 year because she made this mindset shift. She went from feeling like she had to do all the work herself to training and managing subcontractors who could deliver the same quality under her guidance. And the first step and scaling is building a team of trusted subcontractors. Subcontractors that you can trust to handle case analysis under your oversight. And not all legal nurse consultants make good subcontractors. You need legal nurses who have the technical skills to complete quality medical analysis, who understand your standards and expectations, who are reliable with deadlines and communication the way you expect, subs who can follow your quality systems and your processes, who can share in your commitment to excellence. Now, granted, this is one huge advantage in our Catalyst community. Most of the nurses trained through Catalyst don't use any subcontractors outside of Catalyst trained subs because they know those LNCs have been through the same rigorous training and they understand the same quality standards. Now, before you trust a sub on a real client case, you need to test their capabilities. Maybe have them submit a sample work product to you. But be careful to ensure that it's their work and not just a copy paste of someone else's or something they downloaded. Review their work for accuracy, completeness, attention to detail. Test their communication and their deadline management, and ensure that they understand your specific requirements and preferences. I did a whole nother video on how to vet subcontractors. You might want to check that out if you're interested. But the best subcontractor relationships are partnerships, not just contractor arrangements. You want people who feel invested in your success and take pride in representing your business well. Sarah, I love to tell this story. She was able to travel internationally while managing her business because she built such strong relationships with trusted subcontractors. She could rely on them completely while she was even out of the country. And don't expect subcontractors to automatically understand your systems and standards. You need to invest time in training them, unless they're going through Catalyst, in which case you're dialed in. But if not, you got to teach them what your specific quality requirements are, your client communication preferences, your project management processes, your timeline and deadline expectations. This sort of upfront investment is going to pay dividends in consistent quality and fewer management headaches later down the line. Now, as you scale, maintaining quality becomes something that's both more important and more challenging. You're going to need systematic approaches. You need to ensure every piece of work meets your standards. You're going to need things like checklists and systems for reviewing every piece of work before it goes to the final client. And here's some things that I think you should look for in your quality review process. Medical accuracy. I think medical accuracy verification is something that's super important. Timeline and chronology logic, formatting, professional presentation, attorney-specific requirement compliance, strategic value and insight inclusion into their analysis. And as your volume grows, you're not going to be able to personally review every case. You just simply can't. You'll instead have to develop senior team members who can conduct quality reviews under your standards. Look for subs who consistently produce exceptional work, have the attention to detail that they need for quality oversight, and consider training them on your review standards and give them responsibility for ensuring that maybe junior team members under them meet the expectations as well. Now, for complex or high-value cases, I like to implement a multi-level review process. My initial subcontractors self-review using a checklist, and then that's peer-reviewed by another experienced team member. The final senior review is done by you or a quality team lead, which I have a chief administrative officer, and then the client-specific customization is reviewed at the end. Regardless of attempts to ensure that no mistakes are made, there's going to be issues that arise. So use quality issues as learning opportunities. And use it for the entire team if possible, because when mistakes happen, you can conduct these brief team training sessions that helps ensure everyone learns from the experience. Now, as your case volume grows, you're also going to need to systemize your marketing and your business development process. So consider hiring someone to handle the research, the outreach components of marketing, like researching attorneys and law firms in your target areas. managing contact databases and communication tracking, scheduling follow-up communications and relationship management, coordinating marketing materials and proposal development. This frees up you to focus on strategic relationship building that actually generates more business. And you'll want to develop systematic approaches to identifying and reaching potential clients as well. Things like database research, contact information gathering, email campaign management, email management tracking, follow-up sequence automations. You're going to want referral program coordination. And as your attorney network grows, you'll need systems for maintaining the relationships as well, like regular check-in scheduling and tracking, birthday, professional milestone recognition, value-added communication campaigns, referral appreciation and recognition programs. Now, imagine trying to maintain all of this and these relationships with 50 attorneys without a systematic support system. Trust me, it's nearly impossible to do. Now, at significant scale, you also need executive level leadership to manage different aspects of your business. You might want to consider doing what I did. I hired a chief operating officer to handle front-end operations. A COO manages all client-facing interactions and operations. Client relationship management, communication, case intake, and project scoping, technology systems and process operations, business development, marketing strategy, financial management reporting. Andrea became my COO of Loveless Legal Nurse Consulting because she excelled at managing complex client relationships. And she ensured seamless product delivery over and over and over. Now she handles our multi-$10,000 plus cases and coordinates IMEs and DMEs and manages a plethora of smaller cases that we get routinely as well, like demand letters and merit reviews, all while maintaining that high-touch service that our attorneys value. You might also want to consider placing a chief administrative officer for the back-end process. Our CAO manages all the internal operations and systems like team coordination and performance management, quality review and assurance, that's huge, human resource and team development, compliance and legal requirements, client satisfaction. Moving from doing the work yourself to leading the business, it requires a fundamental shift in how you spend your time. So think about it. Instead of writing chronologies, focus on developing the people who write chronologies. Instead of talking to an attorney, think of building systems that maintain relationships with dozens of attorneys. Instead of managing one case timeline, think about overseeing systems that manage dozens of cases simultaneously. And again, the hardest part of scaling for most legal nurse consultants is learning to delegate critical functions. You've got to trust other people to maintain the quality and the relationships that you've worked so hard to build. But here's the reality. If you can't delegate, you can't scale. And if you can't scale, you're limited to your potential impact and you're limiting your wealth creation. And here's what happens when you successfully scale your legal nurse consulting business. You've got revenue multiplication instead of being limited by your personal capacity. Your revenue potential honestly becomes limited only by your marketing and your ability to build systems and teams. Otherwise, it's no limit. A solo practitioner might handle 6 cases a month, and maybe they generate 15, 20K monthly. A scaled operation can handle 50 plus cases a month, can generate 150K a month. And you also start to see profit margin optimization when you start scaling effectively. As you develop these efficient systems and processes and put experienced team members in place, your profit margins actually improve and grow. Experienced subcontractors, they tend to work faster. They turn things around faster. They require less oversight. And systematic processes reduce errors and the need for rework, which turns around things faster even then. You also see asset value creation that's going to begin to start taking shape in your business. See, a scaled business has value beyond your personal efforts. It becomes an asset that could potentially be sold, and that can generate wealth beyond the income that it just produces. And you'll start to see true time freedom. It's kind of what we're all after, right? The ultimate goal of scaling. It's not just more money. It's not just having a big business that maybe you can sell one day. It's freedom. So you can design the life that you've dreamed of. And when your business runs efficiently without your constant involvement, that's when you gain that freedom that's impossible as a solo practitioner. And finally, you'll leave a legacy. Make a real impact. A scaled business allows you to impact more attorneys, help more clients get justice, and provides opportunities for other nurses to build meaningful careers because of your business. And you'll have the opportunity to pass all of this on to future generations as well, if that's something you want to do. Now, let me take a minute and talk to you about some of the common scaling mistakes to avoid. Some mistakes that can absolutely derail scaling efforts. First, trying to scale too fast or without proper systems and quality controls in place. 2, hiring people without adequate training and adequate support systems. 3, delegating responsibility without delegating authority. 4, focusing only on volume growth and not maintaining quality standards. It's your bread and butter. 5, not investing in leadership development that's needed to grow a larger operation. And these mistakes are avoidable, but you have to have proper guidance, you have to have proper mentorship, and you have to have a systematic approach to scaling. Look, scaling a legal nurse consulting business, it's not something that's easy to figure out through trial and error. Stakes are too high. The opportunity is too valuable to risk on guesswork. In Catalyst, we don't just teach you how to be successful in individual legal nurse consulting. We teach you how to build scalable businesses that can create true generational wealth. We provide the roadmaps, the systems, the trainings, the templates, the ongoing support to build the kind of legal nurse consulting business that generates wealth that lives on beyond you. So if you're interested in this, check out our free training. I'll show you the complete framework for getting started to build your successful legal nurse consulting business. That link is in the description below. Your business empire is right there on the horizon. The question is, are you ready to build it? Guys, I appreciate you watching. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to like it and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.